Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner Horror Podcast. I'm your host as always, Corey, and today we have a review coming to you from 1985, and that's Dario Argento's Phenomena. This film revolves around a character by the name of Jennifer, in which she's the daughter of a wealthy and well-known actor who sends her off to an all-girls school. Upon her arriving to the school, she realizes that there is a serial killer on the loose around the area. She also realizes that she has an attraction towards insects and essentially can control them. Upon her arriving on this first day, she ends up sleepwalking on the first night she's there and ends up witnessing a gruesome murder. She then leaves the scene in like a shock light state and ends up at a house of a professor who is a professor over insects. She tends to befriend him and go back to school. And as she goes back to school, the headmaster starts becoming a real ass towards her, doesn't believe her, and essentially treats her like crap. She essentially makes her way back to the professor, in which they tend to work together towards figuring out who this killer is. Upon them working together, the headmaster ends up trying to essentially get her thrown into a mental institution. But she ends up running away and ultimately trying to track down the serial killer. And at that point, I'm just going to kind of leave it there because if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. So I'm honestly just going to stop talking about it and I'm going to start talking about my likes and dislikes about this film. My dislikes. I don't dislike anything about this film. It is fun to watch through and through. Uh, so therefore, I'm just going to jump into the things that I like about this film. So first and foremost, let's talk about the score of the film. The score of the film is phenomenal. I mean, of course, you got the elements. It's a Dario Argento film, for that matter. It's an Italian film, so Goblin. There's a lot of songs in it from Goblin. But I noticed, man, he used a couple songs from Iron Maiden in this, and he also used, I think, Motorhead as well in this film. So that's pretty cool. It had a wide range of scores, and I ultimately love the music of this whole movie. It really sets the tone throughout the film. And another thing is he really captured atmosphere in this. And you know me, if I love anything about horror films, it's atmosphere, and this one really captures atmosphere. I like it. Um, the death scenes are gruesome, gory, and just awesome. In which, of course, there was some black glove scenes. So right away, I know that was probably Dario Argento handling that one. Um, but yeah, overall, it's a fun film. It's got a really awesome cast. It's got Daria Nicolodi in it. She's awesome. Jennifer Connelly. This is kind of one of her first roles, so that was really awesome. The only thing that I can say about that is I remember growing up and watching The Labyrinth, and obviously she's in it, and ultimately I loved her character in that. So when I found out she was in this film, I was like, oh man, I have to get it. In which, by the way, um, yeah, I honestly thought that I had never seen this film, and actually when I got it, I was like, oh man, I have seen this film. It's been years, but it was awesome watching this. And then, of course, Donald Pleasance is in this film, which is awesome. Um, but yeah, everything about this film's great. Actually, there is one thing that I ultimately couldn't kind of stand in this film. Of course, there's this there's what is it, ape, orangutan, or chimpanzee? Excuse me. That's what it is. It's a chimpanzee, and it's kind of like Donald Pleasance's partner or whatever. Um, she tends to help him around the house and stuff. He's a paraplegic in this film. Um, but there's like a scene where she's almost like trying to show sadness, and I think they used a dog whimpering or something or whining, but it was kind of annoying. But that's honestly the only thing that I can say that I disliked about this film. Um, but yeah, back to Dario, or back to not Dario Argento, but Donald Pleasance. He was awesome in this film. He, of course, anything that I watch him in, I just I love because he's such a great, or was such a great actor. Um, but yeah, and then ultimately there's this really cool scene where she ends up falling in like this vat of rotting corpses. Um, that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, just everything about this film's really fun. I can't say enough about it. Now, I will say this is not my favorite Argento film. My favorite Argento film is obviously Tenebrae, followed probably by Deep Red, and then Suspiria and Inferno. Um, but I will say this is up there. This is at least my top five Dario Argento picks. So phenomenal, phenomenal film. And if you don't have a copy of it, I recommend you pick up the Synapse. Um, I think I watched I think it was 110 minutes long. Yeah. So it's got several features in which like I said, I watched, no, 116 minutes, excuse me. So the one I watched was 116 minutes long. And then there's a 110-minute long version on here. And then it's chocked full of stuff. Um, it's got it's got it's got an 85-minute long US release version of Creepers on it, and then there's the trailer of it, and then Dario Argento does a documentary on here, and then there's other things. There's a interview with Andy Sexgang. So, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Highly recommend you buy the Synapse version. This is great stuff, and like I said, go check it out. It's good stuff. And upon that, I'm going to possibly do a top 10 here soon. So if you guys want to see a top 10 or have a theme for me, let me know in the comments down below. And also let me know if you guys have seen this and what you guys' thoughts are. And if you're following me in the Facebook group, let's have a discussion about this. What's your favorite Dario Argento film if you've seen it or seen any of his work? So dying to get a little discussion going on there or whatever. But yeah, as always, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and check me out on my Facebook group, and then also follow me on Instagram, guys. Later.